In this session, we want to look at loops. Again, we're using the Jupyter Lab. We're going to create a new notebook, and we're going to call it, right-click on the name or tab here, rename it to just something like loops. What is a loop? A loop, or when would you use a loop? A loop is always a time saver if you have steps that require to be run multiple times. And you know, for example, how long, how often you have to do a certain process in your programming, then you would use a loop. There's two different kinds of loops in Python, the for loop and the while loop. We're going to cover both of them. So let's turn this cell, first of all, into a markdown cell, escape, M, enter, and give it a title, for loops. Okay, how does a for loop look like? So every time you have what's called an iterator, a certain object that you can iterate over, you can use this to do steps over this. It sounds complicated. Easy example, let's create a list, 0, 1, 2, 3, right, 4 elements. And now I want to do something with each element of these, right? For example, I want to add to each element, I want to add 1. How would I do this, right? Easiest is with a for loop. So, and that's quite the nice thing about Python is it's quite close to English or to spoken language. So for every element e in, this is a variable that's only declared in this for loop. So we get back to that, but it's not initiated yet, this variable. So for e in L, which is our list here, right? Let's call it, instead of L, let's call it my list. And then for e in my list, and then a colon, which means now the list starts, right? And then you see automatically if we press enter behind the colon, there's an indication here, right? The indicator moves to 4 steps, 1, 2, 3, 4 white spaces to the right. And this indicates that Python already knows, or Jupyter Notebook in this case, already knows that we want to start a new block. And this is something that's peculiar about Python. It's in different other programming languages, it doesn't matter where you type stuff. You have to put brackets around things and to make the programming language or the compiler understand what you actually mean, like where, from when until when should the loop be. In Python, this is all done by moving blocks around in the code, which makes it much more readable, right? So this indentation here in the beginning indicates that everything that has now 4 spaces in the beginning belongs to this for loop. If you want to exit the for loop, you have to start in the beginning without these 4 indications. Let's do this. So I wanted to add, let's create a new list, my list 2. I just create an empty list. And now for every entry or element in my list, in these, I want to add something to, let's say, add 1, right, to each element and add this to the new list. In this case, I would use mylist2.append. There's an append function which is available for lists, where I can append a new element. This is an empty list. If I append one element, this is then a list of 1 element. If I append another one, it's a list of 2 elements, right? So mylist2.append, I want to append something. I want to append e plus 1. Let's say I want to add 1 to each of these elements, e in my list. If I do this, if I just execute this, so I just press enter here, backspace here, I get out of the for loop and just print my list 2. So just show the output of my list 2. If I execute the whole block, the whole cell, this is what happens. My list was 0, 1, 2, 3, and we print out my list 2, where every time this loop was executed, each element, e, was then added, 1 was added to it, and the result stored in this my list my list 2 list. And the result then would be 0 plus 1 is 1, 2, 3, 4. Quite easy. A little bit getting used to how to deal with these indices here. So E, in this case, is only available, or is automatically created. The variable E is automatically created when you initiate this for loop, when it runs for the first time. It doesn't exist beforehand, and it doesn't need to. Then you can also iterate over not a list, but over each entry. Right? Let's make another example. We also know from the previous videos we have strings that are somehow like a list. Right? So let's call our string S, and let's call it hello world. So let's loop over this. So for the element E in S, right, do something, and I want to print maybe just E to see what's going on. If I do this, for every element in S, print this element. So it's an HELLO space world, like this. Okay. So in this case, both S and mylist are iterables, so something we can iterate over. If we don't have this, but we want to create something to iterate over, we can use the range command. So for I in range of 10, let's say, so do something for 10 times, 0 to 9, right? We can also print I, just to see what's going on. So for every variable I in this range of from 0 to 10, just print the I. What happens is it prints 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 until 9. So in each, the way you can think about this is for this for loop creates whatever you put in the loop, creates so many instances of this code as you have in the iterator here, and executes them one after another. So in this case, in the first case, I would be 0, right? It starts at 0 and goes until 9, 10 elements. And it prints I, which is 0 in the first case. In the second case, it would be 1, because it's 0, 1, 2, 3, right? And prints 1 and so on. So this range function creates an iterable, similarly as the S, the string, is also an iterable here, or the list is also an iterable. Okay, obviously this saves a lot of time, that if you have a process that needs to run a couple of times, instead of, you could write this piece of code we had here, or this piece of code. You can also write everything without a loop, right? If we want to write escape B to add a new cell here, I'll add a comment with the hashtag or the pound sign. Just writing above code without a loop, right? What would this look like, right? And I have S, and then I would have to write print of S of 0, and then I would have to write print of S of 1, and I'll just copy paste now, 2, 3, 4, and so on, right? This produces the same result, if I would keep going, as the for loop, but instead of writing the print function 5 or how many times at all, I just have to write it once and iterate over whatever I want to iterate over. So that's a huge time saver, and this is why you would use for loops. If you don't have a fixed end to your iterable, right? In this case, we know we want to, for example, iterate over all the letters in this string. If you don't have an end, for example, I want to go until a certain threshold is reached, you would use a while loop. So a while loop is similar in design as the for loop, right? Escape, M, enter. Let's call it while loop. Okay, so a while loop is quite similar to the for loop as for the structure, but we don't have an iterator, as I said. So instead we have a condition. For example, this can be a threshold condition. If we want to run, let's create this same loop with a while loop. For I in range from 0 to 9, right, from range 10, print I. If we want to recreate this in a while loop, how would we do this? First, we need to initialize some value. I, for example, would be 0 in the first case. And now, while I is smaller than 10, do something, print I, sorry, not 1, I. But then, in this case, I stays the same, right? So in the first iteration, I is 0, is smaller than 10, so it prints 0. Then it checks again, Python checks again, I is still 0, and it's still smaller than 10, so it prints 0. And this would, if I run this, this would print 0 for all eternity. So instead, we have to change I afterwards and increase it by 1. So we override the variable 1 equals itself plus 1. There's actually a shorthand for this in Python. So similar to C++, for example, you could do I plus equal 1. And if I execute this, you'll see the first iteration, I is equal to 0. It checks, is I smaller than 10? Yes, then print it and add 1 to I. And then do the same again. Then I is 1, then I is 2, and so on until I is 9, and then it prints 9, and then it increases I again by 1, and that's 10. I is no longer smaller than 10, so it exits the loop and finishes. So now we have recreated, and we see it's a bit more complicated than just the for loop. So if you know the number of iterations you want to do, if you have a fixed size, then the for loop is the way to go. If you have just some threshold here, this is the way to go, the while loop. But in principle, it's the same. Okay, so we've used the print function already a couple of times here. So let's go in the next video over a couple of basic print functions. If we have data, we want to print the data to the screen, we want to print results, and maybe also write them into a file. So let's do that next. See you soon.